The stage is set for the Dravidian face-off. The election for the 16th Legislative Assembly of Tamil Nadu will be held on the 6th of April, with all 38 districts consisting of 234 assembly constituencies set to go to polls in a single phase. Tamil Nadu, the only state in the country ruled by regional parties. It's either the DMK or the AIADMK. They alone or in alliance with the national parties have been ruling the state since 1967. And this time too, while the main contest is between AIADMK, which is hoping for a hat-trick, and DMK, which wants to wrest power after 10 years, the Bharatiya Janata Party is making desperate attempts to gain a foothold. But in the first full-fledged assembly election, after the death of two prominent leaders of the state's leading political parties, do mainstream political parties stand a chance in Tamil Nadu? We'll get to know when the votes are counted on 2nd of May. Tamil Nadu, a state where people worship their leaders, a state that takes pronounced pride in its Dravidian legacy, one where it has always been a toss-up between the two Dravidian parties, the DMK and the AIADMK. And this time around, elections in Tamil Nadu are nothing less than historic. For these are the first state polls after the deaths of star politicians and arch rivals, Karunanidhi and Jayalalitha. Periyar, Annadurai, MGR, Jayalalitha and Karunanidhi. Names that have channeled Dravidian identity and politics for decades since independence are no longer there. And the assembly election of 2021 in Tamil Nadu are being contested solely on the power of their contested legacy.
நான் வாய் பிடிச்சதோ மாங்காய் பிடிச்சேன்னு பேச மாட்டேன். எதையும் ஆதாரத்தோடு தான் பேசுவேன். மோடி மாதிரிலாம் எதை வேணாலும் பேசிட்டு நான் போயிட மாட்டேன். நான் கலைஞருடைய மகன் ஸ்டாலின், எதை ஆதாரத்தோடு தான் பேசுவேன்.
ஸ்டாலின் திராவிட முன்னேற்ற கழக தலைவர், நல்லா சிந்திச்சு பாருங்க. திரு கருணாநிதி இருக்கின்ற வரை அவர் தலைவராக முடிஞ்சுதான் கட்சிக்கு. அவர் அப்பதான் அவர் நம்பல. திமுக தலைவர் திரு கருணாநிதி அவர்கள் பேச முடியல, உடல்நலம் சரியில்லை, 2 ஆண்டு காலம் வெளியிலே வரல, யாருக்கு அவரை காட்டல. அப்படி இருக்கிற நிலைமையில கூட ஸ்டாலினை நம்பி திமுக ஒப்படைக்கல.
The two chief ministerial contenders, MK Stalin and Edappadi Palaniswamy, are doing whatever it takes to prove their worth as leaders, as it is the first time either of the two are leading their parties single-handedly in an assembly election. While Palaniswamy has the tough task of beating 10 years of anti-incumbency against the AIADMK, for Stalin, it is now or never. With no role in centre and out of power in the state for a decade, Stalin has no option but to win.
Mr. Stalin has several advantages coming into this election. First of all, the AIADMK government has been in power for 10 years, so there is some level of anti-incumbency, even though it's not large. There will always be some. Second is the large alliance that he has put together with the Congress, the Communist parties, and many of the other smaller parties. It's quite a formidable alliance arithmetically. Third is his unquestioned leadership of the DMK, so he does not have to look over his shoulder and so on. So he's seen as the heir apparent, and he is currently one of the most popular chief ministerial candidates in the race. So the other very big advantage is the solid support that Mr. Stalin has from the minorities. Close to 15% of vote, and almost 90% of that 15% is going to go to the Congress DMK combined. So that's a huge plus for Mr. Stalin as he goes into this election.
ஒரு நம்பிக்கையோட வந்திருக்கிறீங்க. அந்த நம்பிக்கையோட உறுதியோட வந்திருக்கக்கூடிய உங்களிடத்துல
The disadvantages are the image of the DMK itself from their last government in between 2006 and 11, when there were the law and order issues in terms of land grabbing and in terms of rowdyism and so on, which are being quoted now in the run-up to the elections by the AIADMK. The other big issue, and that is not, thankfully for Mr. Stalin, been utilized by the opposition parties to the extent, is the support that the BJP has been trying to derive by painting the DMK as an anti-Hindu party. That does not appear to have worked to the extent that Mr. Stalin may have feared or the BJP may have wanted.
The polls are crucial for the future of the two parties that the cult leaders nurtured, and Dravidian politics that left no room for the national parties in the state so far. But the death of Jayalalitha in 2016 and Karunanidhi in August 2018 has left a void. And these elections are being keenly watched because it puts to test the BJP's ambition to gain political space in the hitherto hostile Dravidian turf.
One of the happiest moments of my life was when I got a chance to speak a few words in the oldest language in the world, Tamil, at the United Nations.
My namaskar and my welcome to all of you.
Hoping to build on the symbolic trappings of identity, the BJP is working hard to make inroads.
We want to promote Tamil culture and language. That is why we are ensuring technical and medical education is possible in the local language. A vote for NDA is a vote to solve long-standing issues.
A lot of water has passed through and has flown, and since 2019 there's a sea change in the politics of Tamil Nadu and the image of NDA.
நலத்திட்டங்களெல்லாம் வாரி வழங்கும் வள்ளலாகிய மோடிஜியின் ஆசி பெற்ற வேட்பாளர் வாணிஜ்யத்தா அவர்களுக்கு நீங்கள் தாமரை சின்னத்தில் வாக்களித்தால்.
A lot has been said about RSS, lot has been said about the Bharatiya Jansangh and later about Bharatiya Janata Party. It is not the correct thing. The reality is that Bharatiya Janata Party believes in federalism, Bharatiya Janata Party believes in nationalism, but Bharatiya Janata Party believes in regional aspirations, and it is the Prime Minister Modi ji who has taken the literature of Tamil Nadu, the saints of Tamil Nadu, and the culture of Tamil Nadu, not only on national forum but on international forum. So the regional identity has to be protected, the regional language has to be protected. Our philosophy has been, Rahulji, that think globally, act locally, and there should be an assimilation between the national, federal structure and the regional aspirations.
In the absence of Jayalalitha and Karunanidhi, the Bharatiya Janata Party has spent the past few months wooing members of the Dravidian parties into its own fold. The party chose a Dalit as its state president. And as part of its social engineering, the BJP sought to woo the backward classes by organizing a month-long Vetrivel Yatra as a tribute to Tamil Nadu's popular deity, Lord Murugan, hoping to evoke Hindutva in the heart of the Tamil voter.
I am a Hindu. I am religious. I go to temples. I patronize the temples. I support temples. I support religious events. So we don't want. Nobody wants the BJP to come and give us a certificate about our Hindu beliefs or to endorse us in any way. And their version of Hinduism does not gel with what people actually practice here on a daily basis. Dravidian is a social justice movement. But the BJP doesn't connect with us in any way. First of all, BJP is a Hindutva party. That doesn't connect with the average Tamilian in any way.
While the Dravidian majors in Tamil Nadu are going through a difficult phase, there are third front variations. One of them led by Kamala Hassan's Makkal Nidhi Mayam.
மேல இருந்து ஒருத்தர் என்ன மொழி பேசணும்னு சொல்றாரு, என்ன சாப்பிடணும்னு சொல்றாரு, எந்த சிந்திக்கணும்னு சொல்றாரு, இந்த தேசத்தை எப்படி நேசிக்கணும்னு அவர் சொல்லி கொடுக்கிறார்.
And there is another option, the TTV Dinakaran-led Amma Makkal Munnetra Kadagam.
We will surely win in these elections and we will form Amma's government.
Given that all the fronts have been offering a slew of promises, it is the articulation of the Tamil identity that may ultimately determine who the winner would be in these assembly elections. On April 6th, when Tamil Nadu votes to elect a new government, the elections will take place in a huge void. Cult leaders M. Karunanidhi and J. Jayalalitha, who shared the Chief Minister's post between them for 32 out of the last 52 years, are now gone forever. By the time India became independent, the Dravida movement was headed for an acrimonious breakup. The seeds had been laid in 1940, when at a secession conference, the idea for Dravida Nadu was first floated. But by 1941, the unquestioned leader of the movement, Periyar, suspended all political agitation against the British to extend cooperation to them during the Second World War. This was when Annadurai and Periyar began to drift apart. And along with Annadurai, so did his protege, the young and impressionable Karunanidhi. By 1949, Periyar's Dravidian movement had split, and Karunanidhi joined hands with Annadurai to help in the founding of the Dravida Munnetra Kadagam, or the DMK. It was in the 1960s that the Dravidian parties first rose to power and prominence in the political stage of Tamil Nadu. In 1967, when the DMK came to power for the first time, Karunanidhi became Minister for Public Works. And 2 years later, in 1969, he became the Chief Minister when his mentor, and till then Chief Minister of Madras State, Annadurai, died. The tussle for the top spot within the DMK was a straight fight between Karunanidhi and V.R. Nedunserian, who was the acting Chief Minister on the demise of Annadurai. With the backing of MLAs like MGR, it was Karunanidhi who finally took control and became Chief Minister.
It was a coup of sorts because 5 prominent leaders were at that time handling the DMK's affairs, like Nedunserian, Madhyaragan and a few others. Karunanidhi was not one among the 5, number one. Number two, Karunanidhi, those 5 people belong to a very, very dominant backward community called the Mudaliyars. But Karunanidhi did not belong to that community. He came from a very, very, as I told you, that Isai Velalar community, which is a little bit ahead of the scheduled caste people, as far as the social strata is concerned. Another thing is that all those 5 people are highly educated. All of them got MA degrees. Some of them are double MA degrees, postgraduates. But Karunanidhi was just a school dropout. It was with his sheer political acumen. He actually, pushed back them and he captured the power.
With the death of Annadurai, Karunanidhi got increasingly occupied with his political career. And along with his longtime friend, MGR, he set about stamping his dominance over the party. But in 1972, in the biggest shake-up since Periyar and Annadurai split more than 2 decades ago, MGR broke with Karunanidhi. The partnership between the hero and the writer came to an end when the General Secretary of the DMK, MGR, accused the President of the party, M. Karunanidhi, of corruption and demanded verification of party accounts and declaration of assets of prominent DMK men. In response, Karunanidhi ordered his suspension from the party. MGR's popularity with the masses was such that till he lived, Karunanidhi and his DMK never managed to get back to power in Tamil Nadu. In 1982, Karunanidhi's rival party had a new entrant, all that ended up enthralling voters with their fiery oratory. Even though AIADMK leaders had anticipated MGR's death because of his failing health, they had been unable to create a second rung of leadership. Jayalalitha's ability to draw MGR's fans and party cadre alike made her a clear frontrunner to fill the void that MGR had left. MGR's death in 1987 had been a stunning personal blow for Jayalalitha. She stood vigil next to MGR's body for 2 days without shedding a single tear and braving the insult from MGR's family members. The power vacuum in the AIADMK after MGR's death came as a breather for Karunanidhi, who sought to consolidate his hold in Tamil Nadu and steered the DMK back to power in 1989. Unfazed by Jayalalitha, Karunanidhi dismissed her as a Brahmin face who knew nothing about Dravidian politics. That was for the second time that the DMK patriarch severely underestimated his political opponent. In 1991, the Janata Dal Secular Congress coalition at the centre, led by Chandrasekhar, cracked down on DMK and dismissed the Tamil Nadu government for sympathizing with the militant outfit of Sri Lanka, LTTE. With Rajiv Gandhi's assassination by the LTTE, the people of Tamil Nadu turned its back on Karunanidhi. Jayalalitha trounced Karunanidhi at the state elections, held in a charged atmosphere only weeks after Rajiv Gandhi's killing. The AIADMK took 224 seats and reduced the DMK to a mere 7, and Jayalalitha became a first-time chief minister. Claiming that the DMK had emptied Tamil Nadu's treasury, the new chief minister vowed to take only 1 rupee as salary and kick-started a slew of welfare schemes. For the next 2 decades, the people of Tamil Nadu alternately gave full terms to both the Dravidian parties. The Dravida Muneyatra Kadagam has been out of power in Tamil Nadu since 2011. But in the past decade or so, the family of Karunanidhi has been accused of corruption, and the patriarch Karunanidhi himself accused of nepotism. These allegations were seen as one of the main reasons for the DMK's dismal performance at the 2011 Assembly elections, an unexpected loss of popularity for the man who had been the driving force behind the DMK. In 2014, AIADMK under Jayalalitha had won 37 of the 39 Lok Sabha seats. The PMK got 1 and BJP 1. The DMK in its last elections under Karunanidhi had drawn a blank. In 2016 Assembly elections too, the DMK Congress-led alliance did not perform well. The alliance won only 97 out of the 232 Assembly seats. And while these Dravidian parties dominated the politics of this state for decades, they never had more than 2/3 of vote share between them. But that changed in the 2016 elections, when their combined vote share crossed 72%. By 2019 Lok Sabha elections, the tables had turned. In the absence of the star politicians, M.K. Stalin ensured that more people voted for the rising sun than anybody else in the state, and by a fair margin. The DMK Congress alliance won 37 out of the 38 Lok Sabha seats in the 2019 general elections. In 2021, yet again, the stakes are high, and everyone has a point to prove or an axe to grind. EPS-OPS have to show that they are capable of pulling the AIADMK. Stalin has to show that he can fit into his father's shoes. And Dinakaran has to show his former party that letting him go was a big loss. Half a century after Dravidian self-rule began in Tamil Nadu, will the Dravidian sentiment win the DMK this election? Or will AIADMK, along with the BJP and its saffron hues, win Tamil Nadu yet again?
Hi everyone, Preeti Chaudhary here. Hope you like this video. For latest news and analysis, like and subscribe to the India Today YouTube channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated. Thank you for watching.